Hi, Dr. P here to talk about analysis paralysis, what it is, what contributes to it, and what a designer can do to avoid it. Many, if not most, gamers are subject to this condition sometime. Faced with difficult decisions, a difficult situation, they more or less freeze up, or at least they take, quote, forever, unquote, to make their play. The longest I ever saw was 20 minutes for a fairly simple decision. And yes, we let the player do that. Some of this is a matter of personality and of conditions at the time, which isn't something that a designer can do anything about. According to one scheme, people are divided into two groups: those who feel better after they make a decision and those who feel better before they make a decision. Well, the latter group is going to be more likely to fall into analysis paralysis. Most everyone agrees AP, as it's often abbreviated, is unwanted in games. It wastes time and everyone is frustrated, including the player with the AP. So what contributes to analysis paralysis? Puzzles do, because there is by definition one or more perfect solutions, players trying to find the perfect move. And that often takes a long time. This is why we have chess clocks. Chess is a puzzle, although it's too complicated for humans to solve entirely. But we have to have chess clocks, because otherwise people take too long to play, because they're trying to find the perfect move. Another problem can be too many choices for a decision, which can include all the choices even if many aren't viable. It's better to have several viable choices only. Puzzles, by the way, by definition have always correct solutions. Opposed games don't have many, if any, perfect moves, because if a game has an always correct solution, that's called a dominant strategy, and that's a no-no in game design. But in puzzle design, it's okay. Though if you have more than two players, you might need to have multiple paths to victory, quote unquote, which is multiple always correct solutions to the puzzle. So what are the counters to AP? Well, first of all, avoid puzzles. But if you make puzzle-like games, such as parallel competitions, very common in Euro style, you're likely to be unable to avoid having perfect play. And even the Euro generally accepted best move in this situation can be beyond beginners. Another way to avoid AP is hidden information. There's no way to calculate a perfect move because you don't know enough, although perhaps too much hidden information can cause its own form of analysis paralysis. Chance is another way to avoid AP. Yes, you can figure probabilities in some situations, but in many it's too complicated. Nothing is certain, so it may not be possible to be perfect. Reduce the number of choices and the number of decisions in the game as a whole. Faced with too many choices, some players freeze up. For example, some people won't play old-fashioned war games, where you must decide each turn what to do with each of 40 to 50 or more pieces. It's too many variables, too many choices. Now you can use committed intent to help avoid AP in such games. What committed intent is you have a set of cards that are the actions you can take, and each player puts one face down and then turns all of them up. And then that player can see what order he's going to go in, because the cards have numbers for the order of play on them, and can decide what the player is going to do with that particular set of choices, which is much smaller than the set of all choices, while the other players are playing. That's committed intent. Worker placement is popular because it limits the number of choices in the main decision of the game. Yes, you have to decide where to put your worker, but once you put the worker there, you know what you're going to do. It's whatever that worker is able to do when it comes around to your time to do something. Also, simplify the game. My motto is, a designer knows he has achieved perfection, not when there is nothing left to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. But simplification may not work if your game is a puzzle, because complexity tends to make puzzles harder. And it's really hard to devise simple puzzles that are hard to solve. There's a special case here. In games where negotiation is important, you'll sometimes see a player continue to try to persuade, even when it's clear they aren't going to succeed, but they won't let go of it. They just keep trying. Perhaps that's a form of analysis paralysis. And there's little a designer can do to prevent this other than setting time limits. A limit on how long you can negotiate, a limit on how long you can take your turn. So analysis paralysis can happen in almost any game, but mainly in puzzle-like games and complex games. Thanks for listening.